Pop Jedi. Of course, Rob DiLauro. With me, as always, is Marie. What's going on?
Hello, happy to be here.
So somebody got picked up by the TVA. Apparently, she's not here. No, I'm just kidding. But Jenna Say What will be back next week. She's actually on vacation, and we hope she's having a great time on the beach, watching movies and doing all kinds of cool stuff. Not inviting us, but she'll be back next week. So we've got a pretty chock-filled episode this time around, and want to thank you once again for your continued love and support. Of course, when it comes to the latest Loki episode, the Legacy of Loki is doing really well, and we're going to continue on with that tradition with a review of episode 1 that just dropped on Wednesday. So that is our main topic, but of course we're going to talk about Top Jedi really fast. We had a big announcement today as we're recording, on the day we're recording, which is that Masters of the Universe Revelation put out a trailer finally. And man, there's only one thing to say: that definitely has the power. And the thing that really makes me excited about this in particular, and this is something that I mentioned on the show before, is that, when it comes to my career and just being a fan, since I was very young of him, like Kevin Smith has just been like a hero and kind of like a guide marker for where I want to go within my career and how I want to treat people and all that. Yeah. So I know that he got a lot of hatred initially when it was announced that he was going to be executive producer on the show, because people just thought he was just going to damage this thing, and, it's going to be, all these dick jokes and smoking marijuana and all this stuff, you know what I mean? So for years we were like just waiting for this first glimpse, and he kept talking about it. It's finally going to happen. And today it's great that he can finally breathe, and this entire crew can breathe, because everybody's like really, really stoked about this thing, and they have every reason to be excited because it just looks awesome. And that kind of trails into the next story. But man, listen, the whole thing with it, guys, is, people usually tend to tell stories a certain way, and maybe because they do so, they, when they get to be part of something that's not in their wheelhouse, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to ruin it. So, exactly. Kevin was an executive producer. He put on that hat, and, he worked with Mattel and Powerhouse Animation and all the writers and the cast and crew. And he brought something that, Masters of the Universe fans can be proud of. This is a continuation of, the cartoon from 40 years ago, and it just looks beautiful. And I'm not even a major Masters of the Universe fan, but just for the idea that I knew that these, like, there was probably tension in the air, like, oh my God, like, I really hope these fans like what I did, with my team and stuff. I teared up a little bit because of that, because like, I knew the pressure that was on them. And, you could just tell they succeeded with flying colors. And, so that is going to start in July. I think it's the first half in July. But yeah, like, the reaction on that was huge. So speaking of somebody doing something that's not technically in their wheelhouse, Diana, what is next in Top Jedi?
So Rob Zombie finally announced that he will be working on the new Munsters movie. He announced on Instagram that his next film project is one that he's been chasing for 20 years. So this will be produced by Universal, and it'll be released on Peacock, Universal streaming service. So it's probably not going to be released theatrically, but I'm still excited for it. To piggyback off what you were saying, there have been a lot of mixed reviews because people are kind of putting Rob in a box, say that he's going to turn these characters into like trailer trash and things like that, knowing that the Munsters is based off of like a family sitcom with monsters. Right. But I think that, like what you've been saying, Rob Zombie, this is one of his favorite series. He even has a hit song called Dragula. Right. So I think that he's going to do his best to do this show justice.
Well, I got a lot to say about this one. Number one, well, first of all, there was a try that was on NBC that Brian Fuller was executive producer on, I believe, executive producer of Hannibal, and it was called Mockingbird Lane, and it only came out. It was only one episode came out, and you know, it was stylish and it was different and it was dark and it was, I actually liked it quite a bit. And I'm a huge Munsters fan. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I actually prefer the Munsters more, you know, than the Addams Family. I know that's kind of
Yeah.
sacrilegious to say that, but I do. Um,
Hmm.
my whole thing is, you know, first of all, like, people are already, you know, just attacking Rob and sending him back to the castle, you know, with torch in hand because
Hmm.
of the way they feel about his past work, and they haven't seen one single stitch of frame. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Like, that's the
Yeah.
one thing I don't understand. If the trailer came out and it sucked, then I could see people freaking out.
Right.
I honestly, first of all, I don't know how you can ruin something like, you know, I know it's classic or whatever, but like, you know, human man gets scared of Herman, runs through door, leaves bodily imprint through door. I don't understand how you can screw that up. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like, you know, this wasn't Masterpiece Theater; it was the Munsters. But to your point, Rob Zombie's been chasing this dream, this, you know, chasing this dragon for 20 years, and now he finally gets to
Mhm.
do it. So next in Top Jedi news, we've got some more exciting news when it comes to horror. Um, Director Lee Cronin just put out a photo not too long ago, a couple days ago, of the clapboard for Evil Dead Rise. So that's actually started filming right now. It stars Lily Sullivan, Alyssa Sutherland from Vikings. We had already mentioned the plot when it comes to past episodes, but if you're not familiar, it's just basically these two sisters getting together. They're estranged. You know, there's, you know, a little bit of a family blowout going on, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like Evil Dead in the city, I guess.
Yeah. In the
Um,
suburbs.
yeah. So it's not going to be like, you know, out in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. There's going to be, you know, like, obviously a population involved. I'm really kind of fascinated to see what they're going to do with this. Sam Raimi and, you know, Bruce Campbell, of course, are on board as executive producers. You know, so you know, you got a great dream team there. I'm just you know, not too much to say about it, but when I saw the Evil Dead Rise title, I was like, all right, here we go. Like, you know, we're getting new Evil Dead, which is awesome. I'm really excited for it. And to piggyback off of that, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist got canceled off of NBC. Aye! But you know what? If Jane Levy happens to be watching this show, I'm sorry that you lost your show, honey. But listen, you are welcome back to horror anytime. Okay, we will come. We will cradle you with open arms if you come back to
Yes.
horror. Speaking of Evil Dead, what's next in Top Jedi? We got some gaming news for people if you're not familiar with what happened today.
So with Evil Dead the game, we just learned that Ash's little sister Cheryl Williams is going to be a playable character. So Ellen Sandweiss, who actually played Cheryl in the original Evil Dead, will be voicing her character, which is awesome. Along with the other playable characters in the game, will be able to play Ash, Scotty, Arthur, Kelly, Pablo,
Eric the Red.
and Eric the Red. Yes. So on top of that, we also got a gameplay reveal from Sunburg Game Fest today, which was voiced by Bruce Campbell himself. So he starts the trailer off saying that he was the dude who saved the world from evil, and then just kind of gives you a tour about how we can play the game and the different options that we have. If you didn't want to play a good guy in the game, you could also play a Kandarian demon if you wanted to be a dick. So
that was his words. Yep, that was absolutely his words.
Not mine. But the gameplay looks absolutely amazing. I'm so excited for this to come out. It is going to be released in 2021 sometime, but we just don't have an official release date yet.
So next in Top Jedi, we actually have some news. You know what? This is a big year for Jensen Ackles, and he's going to be voicing Batman in Long Halloween Part 1 and 2, and of course he's coming to The Boys Season 3. And they ended up showing him in the costume for his character Soldier Boy, which is basically that world's version of Captain America. And I'm sure, you know, if I'm not mistaken, you know, since it's The Boys, he's probably corrupt and horrible. He's probably a liar. You know, how many people he killed, or, you know, he's probably just a bad dude. But he looks awesome, and that suit looks pretty cool. I'm just really excited for that guy because you know, Supernatural was on for a long time, and you know, sometimes when people end up leaving shows that, you know, have been on for like, you know, 7, 8, 9 years, it's usually really hard to get, you know, like work right away for some reason. And
get typecasted.
Yeah, and he's really, you know, like he gets to be the voice of Bruce Wayne. Like, that's awesome. You know, so and The Boys is like one of the biggest shows, like ever. So, he's doing all right. What's next in Top Jedi?
So we're finally going to get a little sneak peek of Jurassic World Dominion. The special extended preview, which is going to take about 5 minutes, will be released when Fast 9, which is going to come out on June 10th.
I'm not knocking anybody that's a fan of these movies. I can understand why people are fans of these movies. They're exciting and, they're just dumb fun. But I'm not going to go to Fast 9 to watch this trailer. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan. And but I am a fan of what Jurassic World Dominion is. I think Colin Trevorrow is a great director, and I also think that it's important, that we're going to see the original cast. Happy anniversary, Jurassic Park, by the way, today. I'm not really down with this supposed rumor that Fast and the Furious world is going to meld with Jurassic Park world. If I see Vin Diesel in a car in Jurassic World Dominion, I'm going to scream. Like if he's if Dominic Toretto is the stinger at the end of the movie, I'm gonna be like, whoa, what the hell are you thinking, man? Like, seriously, this is, if you're going to put them in anything, like, put them in with Transformers. That makes so much more sense. You know what I mean? Next in Top Jedi news, we have news from Netflix Geeked Week, which is just putting out great information left and right. One of the news stories is Cowboy Bebop, the hit anime series, is coming to Netflix as a live action series. It stars John Cho. It seems like it's got a great cast, but the main composer for the anime, Yoko Kanno, is coming back to do her boom 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 boom. Like, that soundtrack is hot. Mm-hmm. I will say that. So like, if you're a fan of Cowboy Bebop, you're gonna hear the same kind of bouncy tunes, man. It's gonna be pretty great. The last piece of news for Geeked Week is actually Zack Snyder and his wife Deborah Snyder are actually going to be producing an Asgardian anime called Twilight of the Gods, which I don't think they're actually working on. I think it's just like they're putting their names on it as far as producer. Yeah. But the cast listing is amazing. Like Peter Stormare, my girlfriend Lauren Cohen, from The Walking Dead. Like it seems like it's going to be pretty awesome. Like, again, there's not a lot of news when it comes to that, but it is based on Asgardian mythology. This all sounds great to me.
So a special happy birthday to the 32nd birthday to Tales from the Crypt. Obviously, I am a huge fan. I have the whole series, but yeah, that show is really special to me growing up. That was what originally got me into horror in the first place, being, 3-4 years old, and it hasn't stopped since. So yeah.
Oh, and speaking of horror, I am actually wearing the shirt, but I am not allowed to address it apparently. But I am doing. I'm living the dream, man, because apparently I am doing something for Joe Bob Briggs in the coming week, and I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait till I can actually say something. But we'll just say that, like, if you're fans of Joe Bob Briggs, I've been talking to, Darcy online and stuff, like, we've been hitting it off, Darcy the Mail Girl. And I feel like I'm in something pretty crazy. So of course, last week we talked about the legacy of Loki, and how much we appreciate the character, and of course, Tom Hiddleston's interpretation of him. And, we should also mention on this episode that I actually learned in an interview not too long ago that Tom, when he was on the set of Loki, he basically was working on the set of the original Thor around the same time, 10 years ago. So we'd actually mentioned before, when it comes to actors taking on characters and, playing them for a long time, like Elizabeth Olsen or Margot Robbie or Hugh Jackman, who basically played, Wolverine for 17 years. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, the list goes on and on. Right. Now Tom Hiddleston's part of that camp. He's been playing Loki for 10 years, an entire decade. And, I will say this, because we are talking about Loki, the first episode that dropped on Disney Plus on Wednesday. I always thought Loki was entertaining. I thought there was, like, some fragments of emotion when it comes to that character, but this See, this is the one thing that I love about Disney Plus. WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. These are basically psychological evaluations of these characters. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And this is kind of like Loki's, like this is him discovering himself, just like,
Mhm.
Wanda Maximoff had to discover herself. And, Sam Wilson had to discover himself and like who he
Yeah.
was and what he was, wanting to bring to the table, even though it was going to be, problematic in some way because of his color or whatever. It was a discovery of that particular character. And, this is the best I've honestly, like Tom Hiddleston playing this character. This is the best version for me. It's pretty spectacular, just, from one episode, we're getting such a deep dive into this guy.
Yeah.
Um, it's pretty amazing. So I don't know. Well, I'll start with you. What were your feelings on the first episode? Because I'm awestruck, and I wasn't expecting to feel emotion, which and I did. I did
Mhm.
quite a bit in a few scenes. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Loki?
Well, there are so many Easter eggs that they sprinkled throughout this episode. I think that I watched this episode like 3 times, and
Oh
every
wow.
time I go through it, I think that I find a few more things every time I watch it. But the episode is called Glorious Purpose. So
Hmm.
obviously that's a reference to how Loki always introduces himself and like his catchphrase and things like that. But it's also, I think, hinting at Loki finding a new purpose for himself.
Well, let's start off from the beginning. Of course, and I love this about it because I'm certain I'm not the first one to mention this, and this is kind of alluded to in the episode that we have Hulk and his raging ass to thank when it comes to this series, because if he
It's
was not
true.
angry about taking the stairs, then Loki wouldn't be able to pick up the Tesseract and jump off. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So that's where the story unfolds, is that you see them at Avengers Tower. Hulk's pissed off about taking the stairs. Loki picks up the Tesseract, and boom, I believe he's in like 400 BC at a certain point.
Yeah.
And he's immediately trying to talk above these people, saying
Yeah.
like, you're going to like follow me and whatever, and they don't speak English, so they're like, what, like, what are you talking about? um so then One Moon Musaku, who was in Lovecraft Country, she was awesome in that, by the way. She plays a hunter, and so basically what these hunters do is they, basically, like, they're trying to protect the sacred timeline. um
Mm-hmm.
and so they basically do a couple things. There's one method that they call pruning. So they basically kind
Yeah.
of, like, it's almost like a garden, kind of like they just prune the timeline so it actually like works effectively and stuff. And so they end up taking Loki back to the Time Variance Authority, which is different from the comics, because like, it's not like this regular lame looking office or whatever, you know what I mean? But I love that about it, that it just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like, I know, it's kind of like, Monty Python esque or Tim Burton esque. It's just very weird, you know what I mean? Like, these
It
people
kind
are
of
working
had
in
a
this
70s
office.
vibe to it.
Yeah, they're just doing paperwork and stuff. I love when the guy tells him, like, yeah, sign this. This is basically everything that you said. And he says, "Pardon me," and then guys like, sign
He
this
has to
too.
sign a new paper. Yeah.
It's just really cool. So when he's running around the TVA, he ends up taking the Tesseract. And he's like, just disappearing in rooms and stuff like that. He ends up in this office and finds the Infinity Stones in the cabinet. And the guy says, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're all over the place. Like, some of the guys use them for paperweights," which is just
Right.
what? Like, the emotional turmoil that they went through, the deaths that they went through, and this place is so powerful that, like, these Infinity Stones mean nothing. They come a dime a dozen. They come out
Mm-hmm.
of a gumball machine, basically. I thought that was pretty interesting. Which obviously, like, just really kind of put Loki on his ass to a certain degree, where he's just like, 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 everything is insignificant,
Yes.
and of course, that's when he actually takes this real evaluation of himself. And the interesting thing is that like, because he escaped in Avengers, quote unquote, um he didn't necessarily know that the timeline of his particular life was going to go the way that it went, that he was going to
Mhm.
tell the dark elves, like, yeah, my mother's over there, and like, lead him to her. So they end up killing her. And just all the stuff with Odin and his brother, and just seeing him break down like that really got to me, because like, we never actually saw that from him. So
Mhm.
we're basically following this guy who like, technically in his own mind was this ultimate god. But
Yeah.
what happens to this guy when he's not a god anymore? You know what I mean? And kind of finds out that everything that he's done in his life didn't really affect him in any way, like good or bad. It only affects the people that were opposing him. They became
Mhm.
better people for it.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really beautifully written. Like, it's just super intense to even think about that kind of stuff. um yeah, I'm like, really, really on board with this. Listen, I enjoyed Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but this is more on par kind of with WandaVision. And in a
Yes.
way, they kind of intersect each other, because she messed with the timeline too. So again, like we were talking before, it kind of involves more magic and sci-fi and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I love this first episode like quite a bit. And so let's talk about Owen Wilson.
Oh my gosh, I was so happy to see him back on the screen again. I'm so excited to see
He
more
plays
about Morbius's character.
so he plays Mobius, which is basically like kind of like a timeline detective, and
Yeah.
and sort of like a psychiatrist in a way. Um,
Mhm.
but his dry humor and just his
He's so
presence.
calm.
Yeah, it's so perfect for that world. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, even like when Loki's kind of opposing him or whatever, like, he never really kind of gets angry. He just like hits that
Right.
button and like, sends him back to wherever he was sitting or whatever. He's just so relaxed, like, beat for beat in this entire thing. So I think he's a perfect addition to the MCU in this particular story. But what did you think about Owen Wilson? I thought that was a perfect addition.
I'm excited to learn more about his background, what else he does with the TVA and things like that.
Mhm.
So, and I believe that he speaks an infinite amount of languages, doesn't
Mhm.
he?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I just have so many questions, and I'm just excited to see where they take him in the story.
Well, they did mention in interviews that this is going to probably affect the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole more than anything. And
Mm-hmm.
so whatever happens during this season or the next, because obviously they were talking about this is going to be the show that has more than one season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whatever happens is going to affect that timeline quite a bit. And but like, it's interesting, just to see all these different fragments of the story that you didn't see before. Because I was thinking, like, maybe he was going to have to fix history somehow and be this. Okay, so basically, DB Cooper was a guy who
Mm-hmm.
ended up hijacking a plane, told the stewardess that he had a bomb. They ended up taking the plane down, got his money for him. Then they went back up in the air, and he ends up parachuting out of the plane. So it turns out that Loki actually had a bet with Thor, and he lost. So, I guess to mess with humanity, because they never found DB Cooper, um, he ends up parachuting out of the plane and
Oh.
just shooting right back to Asgard. Because that was like a mystery. That's a history's mystery. You know what I mean? Like, they never found the guy. So it would make sense it would actually be Loki, and he would just, like, hit the portal back to Asgard, and like, nobody would ever know. You know what I mean? There's really not too much to say, except for, we had mentioned this antagonist, and it happens to be Loki. You know what I mean? A different version of Loki, a different variant, because variants, like, I guess there's different Lokis in different timelines or whatever. And this one, it kind of reminds me of that. This kind of reminds me of a movie that came out quite a few years ago, and it was called The One with Jet Li.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where there was different
Mm-hmm.
Jet Lis and different timelines and stuff. That's what it kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of. I'm just like, you know, I'm just so stoked for this series. I'm really excited about it. And I mean, initially I was, I like Loki as a character, but I think the interesting thing about these, like Disney Plus series is that if you weren't maybe initially a fan of this character before, like these shows are going to make you absolutely fall in love with these characters. And I can definitely see Loki becoming one of my absolute favorites after this.
And then after waiting 10 years from the moment that Loki stole the Tesseract, and now we're finally getting to see what happens after that, I think that Loki's army is finally going to see everything that we've been waiting for, plus more. So
I think so too. But I agree with your theory. I think this particular variant, that's just killing people and doing all this kind of stuff, is probably the Lady Loki version of him. Speaking of killing and stuff, the other thing that was really fascinating is that he felt that everything that he was doing was mischievous.
yeah.
And like Mobius was like basically coaching him in the idea of like, you're not like a jester of mischief, you are cruel, you are death, and everything you've done has just caused insurmountable damage. Do you like doing this? And then when Loki really thought about it, it was just really neat to see him finally go, I never wanted to do this. I think this show, WandaVision, kind of connect with each other. Yeah. And it wouldn't be shocking to me if somehow whatever Loki does in this show also kind of is interwoven into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness as well. It would not shock me at all, because this is, even though we don't necessarily think of Loki, as magic, that's what this is. Like, this is, Marvel's magic character, just like Scarlet Witch is a magic character, just like Stephen Strange is Dr. Stephen Strange. I don't want to, disrespect the man. But, these are magical characters, and I could see them all interwoven with each other very easily. I don't see that being an issue at all. I wouldn't be surprised if Loki showed up in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness.
I would die if that happened.
Any closing thoughts on the first episode before we head off here?
I don't know. I just think that they did a beautiful job with laying out the story on the table and just kind of giving us a taste of what's to come. But I don't think that we can really predict what's going to happen. And I'm so excited to see that.
I absolutely agree. And I think, even though this is 6 episodes, or at least this one season, I think we're going to learn so much, not only about this, Time Variance Authority, but we're just going to continue to learn so much about Loki and his abilities, because we never really saw him outside of being Thor's half brother, right?
Exactly.
Never really got to see him, kind of fend for himself, fight for himself, that kind of thing. And this is all him. Every movement, every physicality, every feeling is Loki. If you guys aren't watching Loki, you need to get on that. We highly recommend it. And it just started, man. The ride just started. There's 6 episodes. I can't endorse it highly enough. It's it was surprising how good that was. I just thought it was just going to be this, kind of goofy, silly ride or whatever. I wasn't expecting all that emotional gravitas that came with it. And I'm in. I'm so in. And like I said, like, Loki could become one of my favorite characters of all time because of this show. So that's our show, guys. Before we get off here, I just want to say thank you again for your continued love and support. The most important thing when it comes to the show, please like and subscribe. It helps us get out to more people. But we also want to make this a community. And if you really love us and you love watching these shows, please let us know how you feel about Loki or anything else in the comments. We want to keep that comment section going. When it comes to people's theories and thoughts, and try to be nice and respectful to us and each other or whatever. We just got so much coming up in the future. We love doing the show, and again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week for episode 18. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.